меня уже задняя скорость включена, как ты только представь, нахуй. А не то, что она упала, ты начинаешь дрочилкой, блядь, выключать скорость, блядь.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are in War Thunder and it's time to have a look at how to aim ships. There's been a few people who have messaged me over the last few days asking for help on how to aim their ships and their weapons. So in this video what we're going to do is we're going to go over it, and we're going to also go over how automatic gunners work, how torpedoes work, and how to line everything up so you have the most success. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the crew skills that affect either aiming, accuracy, or anything to do with that. So if we go to crew on our Vosper here, the first thing to understand is the observers. These are the lads who detect the targets at a distance. As you can see, the top one is still spelled incorrectly, which is kind of funny. But these are when you can actually detect the enemies in realistic and how far they are. It's also in arcade as well. It's when the marker comes above them. So that is the first step on trying to engage an enemy, finding out where they are. So understand that this is what these skills do. Then, on top of this, if we're looking at gunners specifically, gunners, obviously you have reload speed for each of them, and then accuracy. So this is one of the important things when it comes to automatic gunners. Remember, in ships you have three sets of gunners. You have primary, secondary, and then AA, or primary, auxiliary, and then AA. With that said, what that means is when you are using one set of guns, you are not able to control the other sets of guns when it comes to a manual control setting. Instead, what you will be doing is using the one that you have selected, and then the other two sets of guns will fire at targets that either you select or targets that are randomly selected. And this means that gunner accuracy for auxiliary and AAA gunner accuracy are incredibly important. On top of this, you also have distance fuse set accuracy. This affects specific shells which have remote fuses. The more increased this is, the better it will be for you to shoot down mainly aircraft, but also do damage to other ships. The main skills here are obviously the accuracy and the reload ones. Don't worry too much about the distance fuse. So that's how you improve the accuracy on your AI gunners. Now, the next point of call is controls. This is where it gets a little bit interesting and different to how you use tanks and how you use helicopters. So the first thing to understand is this. It should not be there. It should actually be there. But the controls for the ship kind of paint their own story. You can kind of, by looking at the controls, you can work out how to actually aim, but if you are struggling with it still, we'll go through it. So obviously shooting is shooting the gun. Select primary weapon, secondary anti-aircraft. As I said, most ships will have at lower tiers one or two sets of these weapons, so I'll give you some examples here. This vehicle here, it is the Vosper 2 series. It has access to a 20mm on the front, and then it has access to two 12.7mm on the back. Now, since this vehicle has two different sets of guns, this means that I will have a primary set and a secondary. So as you can see, my primary is this gun on the front, the 20mm, and then if I just turn that off so it doesn't shoot anything, and then if I switch to my secondary, as you can see, this vehicle does not have a secondary armament. So there we go. There's the 20, and then when I hit number 2, there we go. And then if I hit number 3, it'll say selected weapon type is unavailable, because this thing only has two sets of gunners on it. If this had an extra gun of different caliber on the back here, like let's say on the back of the boat, then you would have three sets of gunners and each button would do something different. Now, how do you know which one you have selected? Now, this is the interesting part once again. Let's go to a ship which has all three sets of gunners. We'll use the hider in this case, even though I don't have it. It will be a good way of showing you. Now, the first thing you have to do is also turn off your gunners so they don't fire everywhere. So here's the hider. Now, right now I have the main gun selected. You can see them moving. The other thing that moves is also the torpedoes. Now, if I press my 2 key, then it is now on secondary weapons. This includes the ones at the back that you can see. So let's just line it up. Come on, baby. There you go. Those are my secondary guns on the back. Now, if I go 3, it will actually do the anti-aircraft stuff that you will find on the hider. There we go. Now, how do you tell which one you have selected? So in the bottom, where you see the torpedoes, then you have the depth charges, then you have the remove water button, and then you have the tow rope. If I click my primary weapon gun, you can see that there goes the ammunition for the primary weapons, and also a specific icon. If I hit number 2, which I've set to my secondaries, as you can see, it changes the ammunition loadouts, and also it changes that icon. Then, if I hit 3, it changes it again. So, that is the icon for primary, that is the icon for secondary, this is the icon for anti-aircraft. So, now you will know how to select different guns in the form of this, and also with that, what icon corresponds to what. So if you feel like your guns are firing and you are not actually firing or something like that, and you are controlling the wrong guns, you can quickly look to the bottom and you will see the different icon. Now understand that you should map these to what you believe is correct, and obviously that will give you a lot of, it'll help you in the long run. The next one is launch torpedoes. Pretty self-explanatory, but I will use it to show you how torpedoes work. So, every time you select a target, let's just say this S-38 here, you can press, let's just make sure that all of these are lined up. You have the torpedo aiming button. Now here, it is Q for me. So, once I have selected a target, I can press Q, and it will give me, as you can see, this torpedo. It will give me this line, which I should use to line up my torpedoes with in order to hit that S-38. Now when it's red, as you can see here, it means the torpedo cannot be launched, so therefore we have to get it to an area where it can. Now it can be launched here, so if we move the hider up a little bit and make sure that we have hit the green, lined up both and fired. So what you are trying to do in this whole scenario is trying to line up the green to the I suppose, opaque thing that we show here. And if you do that, then what it will do is hit the target. There we go. Destroyed. Simple as, really. So now, as you can see, if now we've clicked Q, let's make sure we're stopping going backwards. We have free range of where to throw these torpedoes, but once we select a target, it gives us a path to shoot down. Now what is interesting is if that destroyer up there is moving, then what we can do is it will actually give you a trajectory where to fire the torpedo if the destroyer stays on the same line as it. So at all times, you are trying to line up your torpedoes with the little, I suppose you call it little transparent mark here to try and hit the guys over there. Now, the only time you don't do this is if you think the enemy is going to change course, so therefore you can course correct. Like if you believe the destroyer is going to slow down, you would throw it maybe here. If you think it's going to speed up, you'd throw it here. If you think it's going to turn, well, you're just going to have to get lucky. It's kind of as simple as that. So, that's the basic way of using torpedoes. Most of the time, if you're very close to an enemy, it'll be very obvious when to release them. If you're further away, then you get that nice guide and it helps you out. All you have to do is select Q, and it is all depending on what you have torpedo aiming mapped to. The next one is depth charges. Depth charges are very self-explanatory. Literally, all you have to do is, I don't actually have any depth charges on this machine, so let's go. Depth charges don't really require any aiming when it comes to it. Let's find a machine where I have depth charges on. Nope, not this one. How about the wonderful one here? Yes, so you have depth charges, and let's take you into a test sail with them. So depth charges are pretty self-explanatory. You can get ones which get launched off the side of ships or boats, but the majority of them, as you can see with this one, you just press Z and they will fall off one at a time. The interesting thing to make sure of is setting them to a amount of time, so when you actually drop them they don't hurt you, and on top of this, to try and make sure that with the depth charges they are useful. It's quite hard to make them useful right now, and also understand which one is going to drop first. By the way, something about the targeting thing. So, another thing I didn't mention about the torpedoes is, as you can see, we've got the line set up here, we've also got the line set up here. If you have this, if you press Q, it will select a single torpedo. If you press Q again, it will select a different one. So, this boat here has 2 torpedoes, and so there, we have selected the first one, hit it again, we select the second one, and if you don't select any at all, it will fire both of them at the same time. Right? So what you've got to make sure of with these little boats is the fact that you don't, you always should aim them. You should always press Q before you fire and line them up before firing, because otherwise you're going to get 2 torpedoes which are going to go in very similar ways, and generally it only takes 1 torpedo to take out pretty much any ship. So you don't want to waste your torpedoes, especially when it comes to realistic. It is much better in a scenario like this, where if I just do it like I showed you there, then I can only hit 1 target. But if I do single torpedoes, so 1 there, and then let's say 1 there, that is 2 targets I can hit with these torpedoes. They're going different trajectories, and all it took me was 1 hit of a button and movement. That is it. So always make sure to aim your torpedoes before you go in. Now let's go back to the controls to see what else we can have a look at. Here we go. Controls, and we have the mines, which aren't in the game yet, and we also have the mortar. Now the mortar is an interesting one. I'm sure it is on a boat that I can show you. Is it on this one? No. But basically, if you don't know what the mortar is, like on the 110 footer, this one has these little launchers on the front. You can get the upgrade, the bomb mortar. You can select it here, and what it means is you can fire shots forward from the bomb mortar. So those generally will travel 100 to 200 meters. That is something you will have to work out the distance on. Once again, not something that you're going to be using that much. Now rockets, once again, very self-explanatory, point and shoot. Smoke screen is the same. Toggle gunners targets. So something, we'll actually do all of this together. So the first thing to know is that you have 3 presets for gunners. So let's get in the hider and I'll show you. Let's make sure to get some stuff on it. So the 3 settings you have are automatic gunners, do not shoot. So if you look in the bottom left corner, you will see a picture of the hider. To the right of it, you will see a target, or a targeting reticle. There is a no or stop sign on it. Now if I press E, you can see that changes to planes and a ship. This means that my automatic gunners will go after planes and ships. I can then change it to planes, so it will only go after planes. Then I can change it once again to boats, and it means that my secondary gunners and my AA will only go after boats, such as this guy over here. Then I can tell them to stop. So sorry, there are 4 presets. There are AI gunners attack ships, AI gunners attack planes, AI gunners attack both, and AI gunners stop. So this is something you will get used to. If you have secondary guns, which are much better against aircraft, and there's a lot of aircraft in the air, you might want to change it so they just only attack aircraft. If there is a lot of ships about, then you may want to change it so it only attacks ships. And most of the time, you'll probably just leave it on both, because you don't want to micro-manage anything. The next point of call is an interesting one. So this is one I feel like a lot of people don't know about, and it's manual targeting of the primary caliber, manual targeting of the auxiliary caliber, and manual targeting of the anti-aircraft caliber. Now, depending on the thing that you've picked, the which one of the 4 presets you've hit, you can actually manually target stuff. So let's say I am using my secondary guns here for some reason, but I want my main guns to attack this cargo ship and not this destroyer. What I do is I look at my presets, and obviously you will learn this. Manual targeting of the primary caliber is num 4. So I click 4, and you see how it has a little target above it now? You see? Now I can click 5, and that is my secondary guns attacking it, and 6, now all of my guns are attacking it. So if I put these on just attack ships, now my guns will fire at that cargo ship. Now if I change it to this, my main guns should turn, or the AI should turn and attack this destroyer. As you can see, that is exactly what happens. But if I move back for my primary guns to attack that, then the AI guns will attack the cargo ship instead. Now, if I change to this, and I just get everything to fire on this, you can see that all of the guns are slowly but surely turning to attack this little boat here. So, a lot of people have been saying for a while that you cannot control your AI gunners on your ships. Yes, you can. You can control them to attack whatever target you want. And if you see the targets above the enemy, like this, then that means you have set them to be attacked by your guns. Now, understand the difference in the targets. So that is what the primary one looks like. This is what the secondary gun looks like. And then that is what the AA gun looks like. So if you feel inclined, you can do something like this. So my primaries are shooting at the cargo ship, my secondaries are shooting at the destroyer, and if I wasn't controlling my AA would be shooting the plane, which is over here. Now, what is nice about this system, which is a little bit, let's call it scummy, is it's an easier way to actually see where the enemies are. And what I mean by that is, as you can see, it's much easier for me to see this aircraft now that I've put a target on it, and it's just one of those things that is kind of nice. But yeah, this means that you can shoot at multiple targets at once. It means that, let's just turn it off. It means that your AIs can focus on different things at the same time. So if you want to attack multiple targets, you can shoot at 3 targets at the same time. So if I just change to secondaries now, and just change it to planes and boats, the AA should eventually turn around, and there you go, shoot at the plane, because now I'm controlling the secondaries, I'm not controlling the AA like I was before. So they'll shoot at the plane when it comes near, and now, if I want my main guns to fire at the destroyer, I can just turn them to fire at the destroyer. You can see them turning to attack. So as I said, you can use your AI to actually target specific enemies if you want to. I've seen a lot of people say that you can't do this, that the AI just kind of fires all over the place. This is not true. You can actually control exactly where your AI fires. You just have to do a bit of micromanaging and setting up buttons. None of these buttons are set from the start. So what I mean by this is none of these are actually assigned. So you've got to get used to it. Obviously, show projectiles trajectory. I believe this is literally just for arcade battles, so I'll make sure to show you. Might be wrong about this, but I believe it is. You know what? Let's change up destroyer. No, let's not go for the Strongy. Carl Golster, you're calling for me, baby. Let's get in there. But yeah, it is a really nice feature that you can tell your AI gunners to shoot wherever you want them to. So let's see how the arc works. Right now, I'm using my primary guns. Let's acquire the target and make the ranging shot. Perfect. So we've ranged it, now we can shoot. Another thing that I failed to mention, which I probably should have mentioned, let's go back to the controls and show you. There is such thing as a ranging shot. Now what does this mean? Well, if your guns are struggling to aim, or it's taking too long to target, what you can do is fire one shot, and what this will do is it will give your crew a range to attack at. As you can see, distance obtained 2,950. So you can fire one shot to get the distance, and then you can fire the rest once you have the distance, once your guns are automatically trained at that distance. So if you are not sure about a distance, just pop off one shot, and it means that you will have the reload quicker than you would normally on the rest of the guns. It's pretty much as simple as that. It's going to be used in long-range engagements, mainly for stuff such as the wonderful destroyers. So ranging shots are a thing if you want to use them. Next point of call, camera mode. Now, I know a lot of people have a lot of this assigned. The only one you have to worry about is this one right now, the mouse wheel on ship, and it should be set to distance correction, and I'll show you why. All of the rest is really up to how you like to feel the camera moving, and it's the same with all of these as well. Now, you also have target pointing if you want to use it. I'm personally not going to go through it in this video because I really don't see the point. So, aiming mode. Aiming mode is this. Simple as that, and it's when you acquire a target, you select them, and as you can see, make ranging shot. So what do we have to do here? Well, first of all, we have to make a ranging shot to see how far this guy is away. So we fire one. We've hit the AA gun, we've ranged him at 1400. Now, in arcade, it's very simple. In arcade, you don't have to worry about automatic ranging or anything like that. What it will do is after the first shot has been fired, it will range it automatically, and your guns will therefore range itself. So you don't have to worry about the scroll wheel, you don't have to worry about aiming. The only thing you have to worry about is... Why won't you select? Right, okay, there we go. All you have to do is worry about selecting the target, firing the shells, and seeing the lie of the shells. So you can see once I've fired them, it's going to go to the left. So now if I fire behind the ship, this should end up in the center. It's all about speed. If I'm going faster than the enemy, then I'm going to want to fire behind them, so therefore the shots move to the left, as you can see here. If he's going faster than me, I want to shoot this way, so the shots will go into him. This is just something that will work with time with you. Don't worry too much about the black lines. I understand a lot of people kind of swear by them. The best thing to do is just to figure out how each gun's muzzle velocity works, and trying to hit shots on people while you are moving and while they are moving. That is just something that will come with practice, and that's all I can say. Now, where does this distance correction come into it? I've shown you how in arcade you don't have to worry too much about aiming. All you have to do is, once you target an enemy, make the ranging shot, and it will do it all for you. It will automatically be able to range and do all that stuff. In realistic, it's slightly different. The way it is different is the way that the actual ranging and everything works. So, if we target this destroyer over there, and we stop the guns firing for a second, we can actually use that wonderful neat little feature and make the guns just shoot at them and shoot down that plane. But I will shut them up because they're really loud in my ears. So, as you can see, the target has been acquired, the distance has been measured by our crew, we have an error of plus and minus 69, and we have a shooting distance with correction. Yeah, so this is where it gets interesting. Now, let's do it with this cargo ship now. So we target it, target acquired, updating distance, we know it's 2,990 meters away, the error is plus or minus 23, and we are shooting distance with correction 2,920. Now, let's do this boat here. Close little one. Updating distance. For some reason it's targeted the destroyer. And once again, shooting distance with correction. So the first time you target an enemy in realistic, it will automatically update your distance measured and make your guns correct to that distance. Now, in ships, what normally happens is ships are moving. So, if I demonstrate here by trying to move this big boy, what will happen is the distance measured will change, but your shooting distance with correction will not. This is where the scroll wheel comes in. So if I fire now, it should land pretty close, because we are about 2,900 off. Yep, straight in the middle. What? Okay. Well, anyway, back in the test drive we go. So 2,859, 2,836, 2,815, 2,700. So we're getting closer, and the shooting distance with correction is not. So, if we fire now at the targets, these should go over the target. And as you can see, they do. What? Am I hitting mines? Anyway. So with that said, what you have to do is line up your shooting distance with correction with the distance measured. So here, we can see that my distance measured is 2,464. So if I just keep scroll wheeling down, reducing my shooting distance until it is in line with the distance measured, generally I would say if you're going closer to a target, try and undercut it a little bit. So if it says 2,360, go for 2,340. But all you have to do is try and line up those two numbers with your scroll wheel, and what this will do is it will manually move your guns in order to fire at the distance measured. Now the other way of doing it is to constantly update the distance by selecting the vehicle over and over again. Now if you want to do this, fair enough. If you really like clicking, great for you. But for me, I think it's just much better to use the scroll wheel. You can see the numbers here. So distance measured is 2,139. So we just scroll wheel down, 2,115. Scroll wheel down once again, and we make sure that we are at the distance measured at every time. As you can see, because I'm doing that and because I'm aiming center mass here, it is very easy to not miss a shot. You've just got to make sure that you line up both of the key numbers there. That's all you have to do. And understand, yes, there is always going to be an error. And sometimes the error, especially at long distances, will mean that you miss. But the majority of the time, as long as you line up those two numbers, you will be able to use it. And you will be able to do well. That is the basic way of aiming in ships. You have all the automatic stuff, which we've gone through, but the main thing when it comes to long-range distances is in realistic, first of all, acquire target, update the distance to it. That will set your shooting distance with correction. Then every time it changes the distance measured, you change the shooting distance with correction to match it. That is literally all you have to do in order to be able to hit a target every single time. And then of course, when either one is moving, either you or the enemy, you will have to be able to match and work out, where the shells are going. But that will just come with practice. I hope this video has been informative to you, and if you have any more questions, don't be afraid to ask them to me on the Discord server. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.